On the night I turned 30, my 12-year-old niece humiliated me in front of 50 guests by dumping her drink on my designer outfit and calling me cheap. My sister Isabella just smiled and shrugged like it was nothing. But here's what nobody expected. How did one bratty kid's tantrum expose a family secret that changed everything? I'd love to know which corner of the globe you're watching from. And if this story speaks to you, make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's video is one you absolutely can't miss. You know that feeling when you think you've finally made it? When everything in your life seems to click into place and you're ready to celebrate? That was me 3 months ago. Camilla Wilson, turning 30, single but successful, living in my dream apartment in downtown Seattle, working as a senior marketing director for a tech startup that had just gone public. I wasn't rich, but I was comfortable. More comfortable than I'd ever been growing up. My sister Isabella? Different story entirely. Isabella married young, 22, to a guy named Marcus Webb who came from old money. Not tech money, not new money, but the kind of wealth that whispers instead of shouts. Country club memberships passed down through generations, a last name that opened doors before you even knocked. They lived in Bellevue in this massive Tudor-style house with 5 bedrooms, a 3-car garage, and a backyard that looked like it belonged in a home and garden magazine. And they had Ava, 12 years old, private school educated, horseback riding lessons every Tuesday and Thursday, and an attitude that could cut through steel. Here's the thing about Isabella and me. We weren't always on opposite sides of the wealth gap. We grew up in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Tacoma with our single mom who worked double shifts at a hospital just to keep us fed. Isabella was the pretty one. The one who learned early that batting your eyelashes and laughing at the right jokes could get you places. I was the one with my nose in books, grinding through community college before transferring to University of Washington, working 3 jobs to pay off student loans. When Isabella snagged Marcus during her junior year at a party in Capitol Hill, our family dynamic shifted. Suddenly, she had everything: the house, the husband, the designer handbags, the luxury SUV. And somehow, without either of us really acknowledging it, I became the struggling sister. Even after I climbed the corporate ladder and started making 6 figures, Isabella still had this way of making me feel less than. But I wasn't going to let that ruin my 30th birthday. I'd been planning this party for 2 months. I rented out the rooftop lounge at the Fitzgerald, this gorgeous venue with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains. I invited everyone: college friends, work colleagues, my kickboxing class crew, and yes, family, including Isabella, Marcus, and Ava. The theme was Emerald Elegance, a nod to Seattle being the Emerald City. I told everyone to dress in shades of green, silver, or black. I'd splurged on this absolutely stunning emerald silk dress from a boutique in Pike Place Market. It cost me $800, which was insane for someone who usually shopped at Nordstrom Rack, but this was my night. I wanted to feel beautiful, successful, like I'd earned every bit of happiness coming my way. The party was set for Saturday, October 14th at 7 p.m. I'd arranged for a jazz quartet, hired a catering company that specialized in Pacific Northwest cuisine: wild salmon crostini, Dungeness crab cakes, those little mason jars with salted caramel panna cotta. There was an open bar with a signature cocktail I'd named the Camilla: vodka, elderflower liqueur, lime, and a splash of champagne with an edible flower on top. Everything was perfect. Or so I thought. Isabella arrived fashionably late, which was typical. She swept in wearing a silver Valentino dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, her highlighted blonde hair in perfect beach waves, Marcus trailing behind in an expensive suit looking slightly bored with everything. And then there was Ava. Ava wore a black dress with emerald accents that probably came from some children's designer brand I'd never heard of. Her dark hair was pulled back in an elaborate braid, and she had this expression on her face. I don't know how to describe it except to say she looked at my party the way someone might look at a garage sale in a bad neighborhood. Camilla. Isabella air-kissed both my cheeks, her perfume overwhelming. This is cute. Very you. Cute. That word. Like I was a child who'd made a macaroni necklace. "Thanks for coming," I said, forcing a smile. "Ava, you look beautiful." Ava didn't even acknowledge me. She was already on her phone, texting someone with her thumbs flying across the screen. "Ava, your aunt said something to you?" Isabella said. But there was no real force behind it. "Thanks," Ava muttered without looking up. Marcus clapped me on the shoulder. "Happy birthday, Camilla." 30, huh? Still got time to settle down." He winked like he'd said something clever. I bit back about 17 different responses and just nodded. "Drinks are at the bar. Help yourselves." They drifted off into the crowd, and I tried to shake off the weird energy they'd brought with them. My best friend Monica found me a few minutes later by the windows. "Was that the Ice Queen and her family?" Monica asked, handing me one of the signature cocktails. "Be nice. That's my sister." "Yeah, and she just called your incredible party cute loud enough for half the room to hear." Monica clinked her glass against mine. "Forget about her. This is your night. Look around. Everyone's having an amazing time." She was right. The party was in full swing. People were laughing, dancing to the jazz quartet's rendition of Stevie Wonder songs, posting photos with the backdrop I'd set up that said 30, flirty, and thriving in gold letters. My boss cornered me to tell me I was being considered for a vice president position. My college roommate flew in from Portland as a surprise. Everything was going exactly as I'd hoped, until it wasn't. It happened around 9:30, right when they were about to bring out my birthday cake, a 3-tier masterpiece covered in edible flowers and gold leaf. I was standing near the center of the room, surrounded by friends, genuinely laughing at some story about our last company retreat when someone had accidentally gotten locked on the roof overnight. I felt something cold splash across my chest and stomach. For a second, I couldn't process what had happened. I looked down and saw my beautiful emerald dress covered in dark red liquid. Cranberry juice, I realized, mixed with vodka based on the smell. The silk was already staining, the liquid spreading across the expensive fabric like blood. Then I heard Ava's voice, high and clear enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Oops. Sorry, Aunt Camilla. Actually, you know what? Now you look as cheap as everyone says you are." The conversations around us stopped. The jazz quartet kept playing, but it felt like they were performing in another dimension. I looked at Ava standing there, holding an empty glass, and I swear to God she was smiling. Not apologetic, not embarrassed, smiling. Ava. I heard Isabella's voice, but it sounded far away. My hands were shaking. People were staring. Someone handed me napkins, and I pressed them against my dress uselessly. The stain was already set. I started to say something, but my voice cracked. "It was an accident," Ava said loudly, her eyes wide and innocent now. I tripped. I didn't mean to, but I'd seen her face. I'd seen that smile. That wasn't an accident. Isabella appeared at her daughter's side, placing a hand on Ava's shoulder. "Camilla, I'm so sorry." "Kids, you know?" She didn't mean it. Then, looking at the dress, Isabella's mouth twitched. I swear she was fighting back a smile. "That's such a shame. Was that dress expensive?" Was that dress expensive? Like she didn't know exactly what kind of budget I was working with. Like she wasn't standing there in an outfit that cost 10 times what mine did. Monica appeared with my coat. "Come on, let's get you cleaned up." But I couldn't move. I just stood there, soaking wet, humiliated in front of everyone who'd come to celebrate me. While my 12-year-old niece watched with those cold eyes, and my sister made excuses, and the entire party had ground to this awful, uncomfortable halt. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. This wasn't just a bratty kid being careless. This was calculated. This was intentional, and I was going to find out why. Monica practically dragged me to the women's restroom while the party continued in this weird, muted way behind us. I could hear people whispering, the jazz quartet gamely trying to bring back the energy with an upbeat number. But the damage was done. In the harsh bathroom lighting, the stain looked even worse. The cranberry juice had turned the emerald silk a muddy brown-red color, and the fabric was already stiffening. $800 down the drain, literally. That little psychopath, Monica said, wetting paper towels under the faucet. Did you see her face? She enjoyed that. I know. My voice came out flat. I was still in shock, I think. Isabella saw it too. She had to have seen it. Oh, she saw it. She just doesn't care. Monica dabbed at the stain, but we both knew it was hopeless. What are you going to do? You can't go back out there like this. I looked at myself in the mirror. My makeup was running. I'd started crying without even realizing it. My hair, which I'd spent an hour curling into perfect waves, was falling flat. And my dress, my beautiful dress that was supposed to make me feel confident and successful, looked like a crime scene. I'm going home, I said quietly. What? No, Camilla, this is your party. Don't let them win. A lot of love and effort went into bringing this story to life. If you're enjoying it, we'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel. Now back to where we left off. They already won, Monica. Look at me. I gestured at my reflection. Everyone out there is going to remember my 30th birthday as the night I got humiliated by a 12-year-old. Monica's jaw clenched. At least let me go out there and tell Isabella and her spawn exactly what I think of them. Don't. It'll just make it worse. I pulled out my phone and texted my coworker Jason, asking if he could make an announcement that I wasn't feeling well and had to leave early. But everyone should stay and enjoy the party. I just need to get out of here. I ended up leaving through the service entrance like I was sneaking out of my own birthday party. The catering staff gave me sympathetic looks but didn't say anything. I Ubered home in my stained dress, walked into my apartment, and just stood there in the dark for a solid 10 minutes. Then I did what any reasonable person would do. I poured myself a massive glass of wine, put on sweatpants, and rage-scrolled through social media. Big mistake. The photos were already up. Someone had caught the exact moment Ava threw her drink on me. My face in that picture, shocked, hurt, humiliated, was already being tagged, Sham Camilla turns 30. There were other photos, too, from earlier in the evening when I'd been happy and laughing, and the contrast was brutal. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the comments on Isabella's Instagram post. She'd shared a family photo from the party, her, Marcus, and Ava all looking picture perfect, with the caption, "Family time at Camilla's birthday celebration." So proud of my baby sister for putting together such a fun evening. Sister love, family first, Cha's proud sister. No mention of what Ava had done. No apology. Just this fake, sugary post pretending everything was perfect, and people were eating it up. Such a gorgeous family. Ava is growing up so beautiful. Love the sisterly bond. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I called my mom. It was almost midnight, but she was usually up late watching her crime shows. Mia? How was the party? Mom's voice was warm, completely unaware of the disaster that had unfolded, and I lost it. Everything came pouring out. The dress, Ava's comment, Isabella's non-reaction, having to leave my own birthday party. By the end, I was full-on sobbing into the phone. Camilla, Mom sighed. That child needs discipline. I don't know what Isabella is thinking, letting her act that way. Mom, it wasn't just bad behavior. She looked at me like she hated me. What did I ever do to her? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Too long. Mom? Camilla, there's something you need to understand about your sister. Mom's voice had changed, gotten quieter. Isabella has always been competitive with you, even when you were little girls. Competitive? Mom, she married a millionaire and lives in a mansion. What does she have to be competitive about? That's exactly it, Mija. You built everything yourself. You went to college, you worked hard, you earned your success. Isabella, she married into hers. And I think, deep down, that bothers her more than she'd ever admit. I sat with that for a moment, processing. So what, she's training Ava to hate me too? To tear me down? I'm not saying that's what she's doing intentionally, Mom said carefully. But children hear things. They pick up on tensions. If Isabella says certain things about you when Ava's around, what kind of things? Mom hesitated. When I was at their house for Easter, I heard Ava ask why you weren't married yet. Isabella told her some people are too focused on careers to find real happiness. My stomach dropped. She said that? There's more. Marcus made a comment about how you were still renting instead of owning property. Isabella laughed and said something about how you play at being successful, but don't have real wealth. Ava was right there at the table. I felt sick. All this time, I'd thought Isabella was just distant, maybe a little condescending. I didn't realize she was actively poisoning her daughter against me. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I was hoping it would blow over. I was hoping Isabella would grow out of this jealousy. But after tonight, Mom trailed off. Maybe it's time you two had a real conversation. We talked for another hour. Mom told me other things I'd missed or ignored. How Isabella always had to one-up my achievements at family gatherings. How she'd made passive-aggressive comments about my love life, my career choices, even my apartment. Little digs that I'd brushed off as sisterly teasing but were apparently part of a bigger pattern. By the time we hung up, it was past 1 a.m, and I had a pounding headache from crying. I tried to sleep but couldn't. My mind kept replaying Ava's face, that cruel smile, those words. Now you look as cheap as everyone says you are. Everyone says. That meant Isabella had been talking about me, probably to Marcus, to Ava, maybe even to other people. How long had this been going on? And why was I just now seeing it? Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Isabella. Hey, I'm really sorry about tonight. Ava feels terrible. She didn't mean what she said. You know how preteens can be. Hope we can move past this. Love you. I stared at that message for a long time. The casualness of it. The deflection. The complete lack of actual accountability. You know how preteens can be, like Ava had accidentally spilled something, not deliberately destroyed my dress, and humiliated me in front of 50 people. I didn't respond. Sunday morning came with a hangover I didn't deserve, since I'd only had 2 glasses of wine. My phone was flooded with messages, friends checking in, asking if I was okay, a few people who'd left the party early apologizing for not saying goodbye. Jason sent me a long text saying the party had continued for another 2 hours and the cake had been amazing. But everyone was worried about me, and then there was a message from Marcus Webb. Marcus never texted me directly. Camilla, we need to talk. Can you meet me for coffee tomorrow? This is important. Don't tell Isabella. I read that message 5 times, my heart pounding. Don't tell Isabella. What the hell was going on? I spent the rest of Sunday in a fog, alternating between anger and confusion. I deep cleaned my apartment, went for a long run, tried to distract myself with Netflix. Nothing worked. My mind kept circling back to that message from Marcus, to Ava's cruelty, to Isabella's fake apology. Monday morning, I texted Marcus back. Grounds and Greens on 5th Avenue noon. His response was immediate. See you there. I went to work in a daze. People kept asking about my birthday, and I gave them the sanitized version. Great party, fun people, got a little sick at the end, but overall wonderful. I smiled until my face hurt. At 11:30, I told my assistant I had a lunch appointment and left the office. The coffee shop was only 3 blocks away, but I walked slowly, trying to prepare myself for whatever Marcus was going to tell me. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table away from the windows. He looked different than he had at the party. Tired, stressed. His usually perfect hair was slightly disheveled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. Camilla. He stood up as I approached. Thanks for meeting me. What's this about, Marcus? I sat down across from him, not bothering with small talk. He glanced around the coffee shop like he was checking for spies, then leaned forward. How much do you know about Isabella's finances? Of all the things I'd expected him to say, that wasn't one of them. Her finances? I mean, you're loaded. What's there to know? Marcus laughed, but it was bitter. That's what everyone thinks. That's what Isabella wants everyone to think. He pulled out his phone and showed me something. Bank statements, credit card bills, numbers that made my head spin. All in the red. Deep in the red, we're broke, Camilla. Completely, utterly broke. And it's all because of your sister. I must have looked like I'd been slapped because Marcus immediately pushed a glass of water toward me. Broke? That's impossible. The house, the cars, Ava's private school, all on credit. All mortgaged to the absolute limit, some of it worse than that. Marcus ran his hand through his hair, making it stick up even more. My family money? That dried up years ago. My dad made some catastrophic investments in 2019, then lost everything he had left during the pandemic. The trust fund everyone thinks I'm living off? Gone. Completely gone. I couldn't wrap my head around it. But Isabella posts about shopping trips, vacations to Hawaii, that new Range Rover, maxed out credit cards, and a car lease we can barely afford. The Hawaii trip? I told her we couldn't go. She booked it anyway, put $15,000 on a credit card we're already 3 months behind on. He pulled up more documents on his phone. Look at this. Our mortgage payment is $4,500 a month. Ava's school is $2,000. Her horseback riding lessons, another $600. Isabella's personal shopping. Camilla, last month alone she spent $8,000 on clothes and accessories. The numbers were staggering. I did quick math in my head. That's more than a lot of people make in a month. It's more than I make in a month. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. I lost my position at the investment firm 18 months ago. I've been doing consulting work, freelance stuff, bringing in maybe $5,000 or $6,000 a month if I'm lucky. It's not enough. It's nowhere near enough to maintain the lifestyle Isabella insists on. Why doesn't she get a job? Marcus actually laughed at that. I've suggested it approximately 100 times. She says she can't work because Ava needs her, even though Ava's at school until 4 and then at various activities until dinner. The truth is, Isabella thinks working is beneath her now. She married into what she thought was old money, and she's convinced that working would make her look like she failed somehow. I sat back in my chair, trying to process this. How bad is it really? We're 6 months behind on the mortgage. The bank has started foreclosure proceedings. We've gotten final notices on 3 credit cards. I had to borrow money from my cousin just to make the minimum payments last month. Marcus looked at me with exhausted eyes. We're going to lose the house, Camilla. Probably by Christmas. And Isabella refuses to acknowledge any of it. Does she know about the foreclosure? She knows. She just doesn't care. Or she thinks some miracle is going to happen and fix everything. He finished his coffee in one long gulp. I've begged her to downsize. We could sell the house, pay off most of the debt, move into something smaller. She could get a job. She has a degree in communications. There are plenty of positions she could qualify for. But she won't hear it. She says she didn't marry me to live like a common person. Those words hit differently now. A common person. Is that how Isabella saw me? Is that how she'd taught Ava to see me? What does this have to do with what happened at my party? Marcus leaned forward, his voice dropping. Isabella is obsessed with you, Camilla. I mean, truly unhealthily obsessed. She stalks your social media constantly. She knows what you make. She somehow got access to those salary surveys your company did last year. She knows about your promotion, your bonus, your 401k. She talks about you constantly, and none of it is good. My stomach churned. What does she say? That you're single because you're too cold and career-focused. That your success is hollow because you don't have a family. That you're going to end up alone and miserable. Marcus's voice was flat, reciting words he'd obviously heard many times. But here's the thing. I don't think she actually believes any of that. I think she's terrified that you're happier than she is. That you have real security while she's living in a house of cards. So she took it out on me? She encouraged Ava to humiliate me at my own birthday party? Marcus's expression darkened. I didn't know Ava was going to do that. I swear to you, Camilla, if I had known, I would have stopped it. But after we left the party, I heard them talking in the car. Ava was laughing about it, and Isabella was laughing with her. She said something like, well, now she knows how it feels to be embarrassed. My hands clenched into fists. How it feels. What have I ever done to embarrass her? You exist. You succeed. You're happy. Marcus shook his head. In Isabella's mind, every achievement you have is somehow a personal attack on her. When you got promoted to senior director, she spent 2 weeks in a mood, snapping at everyone. When you bought your apartment, when you started renting your apartment, She went on this rant about how renters are just throwing money away and real adults own property. Never mind that we're about to lose ours. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too warm. I needed air, but I also needed answers. Why are you telling me this, Marcus? What do you want from me? He met my eyes directly. I want you to know the truth because you deserve to know why your niece treated you that way. And because, he hesitated, I'm leaving Isabella. I've already contacted a divorce attorney. I can't do this anymore. The debt, the lying, the keeping up appearances while we drown. I can't watch her destroy our daughter by teaching her these toxic values. Does Isabella know? Not yet. I'm telling her this weekend. He pulled out an envelope from his jacket pocket and slid it across the table. These are copies of everything. Bank statements, credit card bills, mortgage documents. I'm giving them to you because when Isabella finds out about the divorce, she's going to spin this story. She's going to tell everyone that I'm the bad guy, that I'm abandoning her and Ava. She might even try to hit you up for money. I looked at the envelope like it was radioactive. Why would she ask me for money if she thinks I'm so pathetic? Because she's desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. Marcus stood up, pulling on his jacket. I'm not asking you to pick sides or get involved in the divorce. I just wanted you to have the facts. And I wanted you to know that I'm sorry for what happened at your party. You didn't deserve that. You've never deserved the way Isabella treats you. He left before I could respond, weaving through the lunch crowd and disappearing onto the street. I sat there for another 20 minutes, staring at that envelope, before finally opening it. The documents inside painted an even worse picture than Marcus had described. There were collection notices, threatening letters from attorneys, a detailed breakdown of their debt that totaled over $400,000. Not including the mortgage. There were credit card statements showing purchases at Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, luxury handbag boutiques, all while they were months behind on basic bills. One statement caught my eye. A purchase from 3 weeks ago at the boutique in Pike Place Market where I'd bought my birthday dress. The same boutique. Isabella had spent $1,200 there. I pulled out my phone and called the boutique. The owner, Margaret, knew me from my purchase. Margaret, this is Camilla Wilson. I bought an emerald silk dress from you last month? Of course. For your birthday party. How did it go? I swallowed the irony. It was great. Listen, did my sister Isabella come in recently? Blonde, very polished, probably mentioned she was my sister? There was a pause. Oh yes, I remember her. She came in asking what you'd bought. I showed her some similar styles, and she ended up purchasing a gorgeous designer cocktail dress. She mentioned she was going to your birthday party and wanted to look her best. Did she say anything else? About me or the dress I bought? Another pause, longer this time. She did make a comment. She said something about how it was sweet that you were trying to look expensive, but that some people just don't have the eye for true luxury. I thought it was odd, but family dynamics can be complicated. I thanked her and hung up, my hands shaking. Isabella had gone to the same boutique specifically to find out what I was wearing. She'd spent more than I had, on credit she couldn't afford, just to one-up me at my own party. And then she'd either told Ava to ruin my dress or, at minimum, had created an environment where Ava thought that kind of cruelty was acceptable. This wasn't just sibling rivalry. This was something darker, something that had been building for years while I'd been too focused on my own life to notice. I grabbed the envelope and walked out of the coffee shop into the crisp Seattle afternoon. Rain was starting to fall, of course it was, and I didn't have an umbrella, but I had something better. I had the truth, and I was going to decide exactly what to do with it. My phone buzzed. Another text from Isabella. Did Marcus talk to you? Whatever he said, he's being dramatic. Everything is fine. We should do lunch this week. Miss you. I looked at that message, the lies wrapped in emojis and exclamation points, and something inside me shifted. For years, I'd made excuses for Isabella. She was my big sister, family. We'd grown up together, shared a room, survived Mom's double shifts and our dad leaving. But family doesn't destroy you. Family doesn't teach their children to be cruel. I texted back, "Sure, let's do lunch." "How about Thursday?" Her response was immediate. "Perfect. I know just the place." Of course she did. She probably knew a place that would put her another $1,000 in debt. But Thursday wasn't really about lunch. Thursday was about having a conversation that was 20 years overdue. And I was going to make sure Isabella finally heard every word I'd been too polite to say. The next 3 days were a blur of strategic planning mixed with regular work responsibilities. I had a major presentation on Wednesday for potential investors, so Tuesday and most of Wednesday were consumed with prep work. But every spare moment, I was thinking about Thursday's lunch with Isabella. Monica came over Tuesday night with Thai food and wine. "Okay, walk me through this again," she said, spreading pad thai across my coffee table. "Your brother-in-law ambushed you with the news that they're secretly bankrupt. Your sister has been trash-talking you for years, and now you're having lunch with her to—" "What exactly?" "To get answers." I showed Monica the envelope of financial documents. Her eyes got wider with every page. Holy hell, 400,000 in debt? How is that even possible? Years of pretending to be richer than you are, apparently. I took a long sip of wine. The thing is, I don't even care about the money. I care that she's been poisoning Ava against me. That she's been making me feel small for years while secretly drowning. So what's your play? Are you going to confront her with all this? I'd been thinking about that constantly. Not exactly. I want her to tell me the truth herself. I want to give her a chance to be honest about what's really going on. Monica looked skeptical. And if she doesn't? Then I'll know exactly who my sister really is. Wednesday's presentation went better than expected. We secured a second round of funding, and my boss pulled me aside afterward to officially offer me the VP position. It came with a 40% raise, stock options, and a corner office. Everything I'd been working toward for 5 years. A year ago, Isabella would have been the first person I'd call to share the news. Now, I didn't even consider it. That evening, I went through my closet trying to decide what to wear to lunch. It felt stupid, obsessing over an outfit after everything that had happened. But Isabella had turned appearances into warfare, and I wasn't going to show up unprepared. I settled on a sleek black pantsuit from Theory, paired with the Louboutin heels I'd bought after my last promotion. Simple, expensive, powerful. Everything Isabella claimed I wasn't. Thursday morning arrived with typical Seattle gloom. Gray skies threatening rain but never quite committing. I got to the office early and tried to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting to the lunch ahead. At 11:30, Isabella texted the address. Some French bistro in Capitol Hill I'd never heard of. I looked it up, entrees starting at $45. Of course, I arrived exactly at noon. The restaurant was the kind of place that tried too hard. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, a chalkboard menu with items like deconstructed niçoise and artisanal fromage plate. Isabella was already seated at a corner table, looking immaculate in a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my rent. "Camilla!" She stood to air kiss me, and I caught a whiff of her perfume, something expensive and cloying. "You look so professional. Very corporate." There it was already, the subtle dig wrapped in a compliment. "Thanks for meeting me," I said, sliding into the chair across from her. "Of course. I've been wanting to check in after your party." She opened the menu, not quite meeting my eyes. That whole thing with Ava was such a nightmare. She's been grounded, by the way. No phone for a week without her phone. That was the punishment for deliberate humiliation? I bit back my first response and said, "Has she apologized?" "Well, she's embarrassed about it. You know how preteens are. They act impulsively and then feel terrible later." That's not what I asked. "Has she apologized to me specifically?" Isabella's smile flickered. She wanted to, but I thought it might be better to give everyone some space first. Let the whole thing blow over. Blow over. I let those words hang in the air between us. "Isabella, your daughter destroyed an $800 dress and told me I looked cheap in front of 50 people. That's not something that just blows over? $800? Isabella's eyebrows rose. "For that dress? Camila, honey, I think you might have overpaid. The waiter arrived before I could respond, probably saving Isabella from getting a glass of water thrown at her. We both ordered. Isabella got the most expensive item on the menu naturally, and then we were alone again. "I wanted to talk to you about something," Isabella said, folding her hands on the table. "Marcus and I have been discussing it, and we think it might be time for Ava to start learning about financial responsibility. You know, understanding the value of money, budgeting, that sort of thing." I kept my expression neutral. "That sounds like a good idea." "So we were thinking, since you're so good with money and career planning, maybe you could mentor her? Spend some time with her, show her what you do, help her understand how to build a career?" This was not where I'd expected the conversation to go. "You want me to mentor Ava? The same Ava who humiliated me 4 days ago? I know. But this could be good for both of you. Ava needs positive female role models who've made something of themselves independently." Isabella leaned forward, her voice taking on a wheedling tone. "And it would be such a bonding opportunity. On to niece time." Something clicked in my brain. This wasn't about Ava learning financial responsibility. This was about Isabella getting access to my network, my resources, maybe even my money. "What's really going on, Isabella?" "What do you mean?" "I just told you. No, I mean what's really going on. With you, with Marcus, with your finances." I watched her face carefully. "Are you okay? Is everything all right at home?" For just a second, I saw fear flash across her features. Then her mask snapped back into place. "Everything is perfect." "Why would you even ask that?" "Because Marcus told me you're having some financial difficulties." The color drained from Isabella's face. "He what?" "He met with me on Monday. Told me about the foreclosure, the debt, all of it." I kept my voice gentle, giving her room to be honest. "Isabella, if you're struggling, you can tell me. We're sisters." But instead of honesty, I got rage. "That bastard?" Isabella's voice was low and venomous. "He had no right to tell you any of that. Those are private family matters. He's worried about you, about Ava. He's trying to make me look bad because he's failing as a provider." Her voice was rising now, drawing looks from nearby tables. "I married him because he was supposed to take care of us, and instead he lost his job and now he wants to blame me for trying to maintain some dignity." "Dignity?" I kept my voice quiet, forcing her to match my volume. "Isabella, you're 6 months behind on your mortgage. You have $400,000 in debt. That's not dignity. That's denial. How dare you judge me?" Her eyes were blazing now. "You, sitting there in your rented apartment with your corporate job, thinking you're better than me because you make a decent salary. You have no idea what it takes to maintain a certain lifestyle, to give your child the opportunities she deserves. I'm not judging you for wanting good things for Ava. I'm trying to understand why you've spent years tearing me down while your own life was falling apart." "Tearing you down?" Isabella laughed, sharp and bitter. "Camilla, you're so sensitive." "I've never torn you down. If anything, I've tried to help you see reality, that there's more to life than work and being alone. You went to the same boutique where I bought my birthday dress. You spent $1,200. You don't have to make sure you looked better than me at my own party. Then you let your daughter attack me and you smiled about it afterward." Isabella's mouth opened and closed. "I don't know what Marcus told you, but he's exaggerating everything. We're fine. The house is fine. And Ava barely did anything. She spilled a drink. Accidents happen. It wasn't an accident, and you know it. You've been teaching her to look down on me for years. Mom told me what you say when I'm not around. About how I'm too focused on my career, how I don't have real success, how I'm going to end up alone. Mom has no idea what she's talking about. So you're not jealous of me? You don't resent that I built something for myself instead of marrying into it?" The question hung between us like a bomb waiting to detonate. Isabella's face had gone very still. When she finally spoke, her voice was cold. "You want to know the truth, Camilla? Fine, yes, I'm jealous. I'm jealous that you get to pretend you're self-made when Mom helped pay for your college. I'm jealous that you get praised for having a career while I get judged for being a stay-at-home mom. I'm jealous that you get to act like you're happy being single while everyone knows you're just scared of commitment. I'm not finished." Isabella's words came faster now. years of resentment spilling out. You walk around acting like you're so independent, so successful, but you have no idea what real life is like. You don't have to worry about a husband's career or raising a child or maintaining a home. You just get to focus on yourself and pretend that makes you better than everyone else. I never said I was better than you. You didn't have to say it. You just lived your life like some kind of example of what I should have done differently. She grabbed her purse, hands shaking. And now you're sitting here judging my finances, my parenting, my marriage, when you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I'm not judging you. I'm trying to understand why you hate me. I don't hate you. Isabella stood up, knocking her chair back slightly. But I'm tired of pretending we're close when we have nothing in common anymore. I'm tired of showing up to your events and feeling like the failure sister. And I'm definitely tired of you acting like you have any right to comment on my life. She threw 2 20s on the table, not enough to cover her meal, and walked out. I sat there in the suddenly quiet restaurant, other diners pretending not to stare, and realized something important. I'd given Isabella a chance to be honest, to maybe start repairing our relationship, and she'd chosen to burn it down instead. The waiter approached cautiously. "Will you still be dining with us?" I looked at the menu, at the overpriced bistro food, at the life Isabella had dragged me into one last time. "Just the check, please." Outside, the rain had finally started. I stood under the awning and pulled out my phone. There was a text from Marcus. "How did it go?" I typed back, "About as well as expected. She's all yours to deal with now." His response was almost immediate. "I'm serving her the papers tomorrow. Thank you for trying." I put my phone away and walked into the rain, letting it soak my expensive suit, my perfect hair, all the armor I'd put on for a battle that was already lost. But as I walked, something unexpected happened. I started to feel lighter. Isabella had finally said what she really thought. No more fake smiles, no more passive-aggressive comments disguised as concern. Just raw, honest resentment, and now I was free to stop caring what she thought. The real question was, what was I going to do with that freedom? Friday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 32 text messages, all from Isabella. I made coffee before reading any of them. I needed caffeine for whatever fresh drama was waiting on my phone. The messages started around 6 a.m. "How could you tell Marcus those things about me? You turned my husband against me. This is your fault. He just served me divorce papers because of you. You've always been jealous that I have a family and you don't. Mom is going to hear about this. Ava is crying. I hope you're happy." They escalated from there, a mix of accusations, threats, and guilt trips that would have worked on me a month ago. But after yesterday's lunch, after watching Isabella choose resentment over honesty, these messages just felt pathetic. I texted back one response. "I didn't tell Marcus anything. He came to me, and your marriage problems started long before I knew about them." Then I muted the conversation and got ready for work. My phone rang again as I was blow-drying my hair. "Mom this time. Mija, what is happening?" Isabella called me at 5 in the morning hysterical, saying Marcus is leaving her and you're involved somehow. I gave Mom the abbreviated version: Marcus's confession, the lunch confrontation, Isabella's explosion. I left out the specific financial details because those were Marcus's business to share, not mine. "Ay Dios mío," Mom breathed when I finished. "I knew things were tense between you two, but I didn't realize it had gotten this bad." "It's been bad for years, Mom. I just didn't want to see it." "What are you going to do?" "Nothing. I'm going to focus on my life and let Isabella deal with her own choices." I turned off the hairdryer. "And I'm going to set some serious boundaries. No more family events where I'm used as a punching bag. No more pretending everything is fine when it's not." Mom was quiet for a long moment. "You know Isabella is going to paint herself as the victim in all this. Let her. The people who matter will know the truth." After we hung up, I blocked Isabella's number. I didn't block her on social media. I wanted to see what story she'd tell, but I made sure she couldn't contact me directly anymore. Work was a welcome distraction. The VP promotion came with immediate new responsibilities, including restructuring the entire marketing department. I threw myself into it, grateful for problems that had clear solutions. Around 2 p.m., Monica texted, "Have you seen Isabella's Instagram?" I pulled it up on my phone and immediately regretted it. She'd posted a photo of herself looking devastated, eyes red from crying, sitting in what I recognized as her bedroom. The caption read, "When the people you love most turn their backs on you in your darkest hour, you learn who your real family is. Going through the hardest time of my life, and instead of support, I'm getting judgment from those who claim to care. To my real friends who've checked in and offered help, thank you. You know who you are. Some people only love you when you're doing well. When you struggle, they abandon you. Family first. Real talk. Stay strong, you're blessed." The comments were exactly what she'd wanted. "Stay strong, Queen. You deserve so much better. Real family sticks together through everything. Praying for you." I showed Monica when she came by my office 20 minutes later. "She's unbelievable," Monica said, scrolling through the comments. "She's making it sound like you abandoned her, not like she literally attacked you at your own birthday party. That's Isabella's specialty, rewriting history to make herself the victim. Are you going to respond? Set the record straight?" I thought about it. Part of me wanted to post the truth, screenshots of her vicious texts, the financial documents showing her lies, everything. But what would that accomplish? A public war where we both look terrible? No. People who know me will see through it. People who don't know me don't matter. Monica looked impressed. "When did you become so zen about this?" "I'm not zen. I'm exhausted. Isabella can tell whatever story she wants. I'm done performing in her drama." That weekend was quiet. I deep cleaned my apartment, went to a yoga class, had brunch with friends who didn't ask about Isabella because I'd asked them not to. I was reclaiming my life piece by piece. "Sunday afternoon," Marcus called. "I wanted to update you," he said without preamble. "I moved out yesterday. I'm staying with my cousin in Ballard until I can find my own place." "How did Ava take it?" "Not well. Isabella told her that you convinced me to leave, that you've always been jealous of our family and finally found a way to destroy it." My stomach dropped. "Marcus, that's not—" "I know it's not true." I sat Ava down and told her the real situation. Age-appropriate version, obviously. Explained that her mom and I have been having problems for a long time that have nothing to do with you. He sighed heavily. She didn't want to hear it. Right now, she's all in on Isabella's version of events. I'm sorry, don't be. Ava's 12. She's scared and angry, and her mom is feeding her a narrative that makes sense to her. Eventually, she'll be old enough to understand the truth. I just wanted you to know so you're not blindsided if she reaches out to you. Reaches out to say what? I don't know. But Isabella's been coaching her on how to handle the divorce, and I wouldn't put it past her to use Ava to get to you somehow. We talked for a few more minutes about his lawyer, the divorce timeline, custody arrangements. Marcus sounded tired but relieved, like someone who'd finally stopped carrying a weight that was crushing him. After we hung up, I found myself thinking about Ava. She was just a kid caught in the middle of adult dysfunction. Yes, she'd been cruel at my party, but she'd been raised by someone who rewarded that cruelty. Was it fair to blame her for becoming what Isabella had shaped her to be? Monday morning brought a surprise. An email from my boss forwarding a message from someone in HR. Isabella had contacted the company, claiming I'd stolen confidential family information and was harassing her during her divorce. My boss's email was short. I assume this is nonsense? Let me know if you need anything. I called HR immediately and explained the situation. Marcus had given me financial documents of his own free will. I hadn't contacted Isabella since blocking her number, and this was clearly retaliation for refusing to be her emotional punching bag. The HR representative sounded bored. We get these kinds of calls sometimes during divorces. Family members trying to cause trouble at someone's job. Don't worry about it. We're not taking any action, and I've noted in your file that the complaint was investigated and found to be without merit. But it rattled me. Isabella was escalating. She wasn't just content with playing victim on social media. She was actively trying to damage my career. That evening, I was still fuming about it when my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Ava standing in the hallway, alone. Ava? What are you doing here? Does your mom know where you are? I took an Uber. I told her I was going to my friend Sophie's house. Ava looked different than she had at my party. Smaller, younger, with dark circles under her eyes. Can I come in? Every instinct told me to call Isabella immediately. But Ava looked so lost standing there, and I remembered being 12 and feeling like my world was ending. Come in, but I'm texting your dad right now to let him know you're here. I sent Marcus a quick message while Ava stood awkwardly in my entryway. She looked around my apartment with curiosity. She'd never been here before. Do you want some water? Hot chocolate? Water is fine. I got us both glasses and sat down on the couch, leaving space for her to sit if she wanted. She perched on the edge of the armchair across from me instead. Why did you come here, Ava? She stared at her water glass. Mom says you ruined our family. She says Dad wouldn't be leaving if you hadn't poisoned him against her. Is that what you believe? Ava's face crumpled. I don't know what to believe. Everything was fine until your stupid birthday party. And now my parents are getting divorced and we're losing our house and Mom cries all the time. Your parents' problems started long before my birthday party. They just hid it from you. Because of you. Dad told you all our private stuff and you judged us. Your dad came to me because he needed someone to talk to. He's been dealing with a lot of stress trying to keep your family afloat while your mom spent money you didn't have. We have plenty of money. But Ava's voice cracked on the words, and I realized she didn't believe it anymore. Ava, I'm not your enemy. I never was. And I'm sorry you're going through this. Divorce is horrible for kids, and none of this is your fault. Then whose fault is it? I could have said Isabella's name. I could have listed all the ways her mother had lied, manipulated, spent recklessly, and refused to take responsibility. But Ava would learn all that eventually. Right now, she was just a scared 12-year-old who needed someone to not make things worse. It's nobody's fault. Sometimes people get married thinking they want the same things, and then they realize they don't. That's what happened with your parents. But the drink thing at your party, Ava's voice got very small. Mom said you deserved it because you were showing off. And there it was. Confirmation that Isabella had encouraged, if not outright orchestrated, that humiliation. Did you want to throw that drink on me, Ava? Or did someone suggest you should? Tears started streaming down her face. I'm not supposed to tell. Hey, it's okay. I moved to sit next to her, close but not touching. You're not in trouble. I just want to understand. Mom said you were always bragging about how successful you were, and that somebody needed to take you down a peg. She said it would be funny if someone accidentally spilled something on your fancy dress. Ava wiped her nose with her sleeve. I thought it would make her happy. She's never happy anymore. My heart broke a little. This child had humiliated me trying to earn her mother's approval, and Isabella had used her own daughter as a weapon in her psychological warfare. Ava, your mom being unhappy isn't your responsibility to fix. That's adult stuff that adults have to work out. But I made everything worse. No, you didn't. You made a mistake because you trusted your mom's judgment. But the problems in your family existed long before my birthday party. My phone buzzed. Marcus, on my way. Be there in 15. We sat in silence for a few minutes while Ava cried quietly. When she finally looked up at me, her eyes were red and swollen. Do you hate me? For what I did? I thought about lying, about saying everything was fine. But Ava deserved honesty. I was really hurt. You embarrassed me in front of people I care about, and you said something cruel that I didn't deserve. But I don't hate you. I'm angry at the situation, and I'm angry at your mom for putting you in that position. But I don't hate you. I'm sorry, she whispered. I appreciate that. And maybe someday, when things are calmer, we can figure out if we can have a real relationship. But right now, you need to focus on getting through this divorce with your dad's support. The doorbell rang, Marcus arriving to collect his daughter. As I walked them to the door, Ava turned back. Aunt Camilla, Mom's going to be really mad that I came here. Then we won't tell her. As far as she knows, you were at Sophie's house the whole time. Ava's small smile was the first genuine expression I'd seen on her face since she arrived. After they left, I poured myself a large glass of wine and sat by the window, watching the lights of Seattle sparkle in the darkness. Isabella had tried to use her daughter as a weapon. She'd tried to ruin my reputation at work. She'd tried to turn our mother against me. She'd burned every bridge possible in her quest to avoid taking responsibility for her own life. And somehow, despite all of that, I didn't feel angry anymore. I just felt free. 3 weeks passed. 3 relatively peaceful weeks where I focused on my new VP role, went on actual dates for the first time in months, and started seeing a therapist to unpack years of family dysfunction I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. Isabella continued her social media campaign, posting vague inspirational quotes about betrayal and fake family members. I stopped checking. It was like watching someone shout into a void, exhausting and ultimately pointless. Then November arrived with news I didn't expect. Marcus called on a Tuesday evening. "The house sold. Already?" I thought foreclosure took longer. We listed it before the bank could finish the process. Got a cash offer within 3 days, some tech couple moving up from California. They paid asking price, which was enough to cover the mortgage and about half the credit card debt. He sounded tired but relieved. Isabella fought me on every part of the sale. She wanted to wait, see if something would magically improve our situation. I had to get the court involved just to force the listing. Where is she going to live? That's the thing. She has to figure it out by the end of the month. I'm covering first and last month's rent on a 2-bedroom apartment in Renton for her and Ava. After that, she's on her own. The divorce settlement is pretty straightforward since we have no assets left to split. Just debt. How's Ava handling everything? Marcus's voice softened. Better than I expected, honestly. She's angry, confused, grieving the life she thought she had. But she's also starting to see through some of Isabella's manipulations. Last week, Isabella tried to convince her that we could keep the house if I just stopped being selfish. Ava asked to see the bank statements. She asked to see them? 12 years old and already developing a better relationship with reality than her mother. He laughed without humor. I showed her an age-appropriate version of our finances. She cried for 2 hours, but then she asked if I could teach her about money management so she never ends up like us. Something in my chest loosened. Maybe Ava would be okay after all. Marcus, tell her I'm here if she ever wants to talk. No pressure, just, I'm here, I will. And Camilla? Thank you. For not making this harder than it already is. For not blasting Isabella on social media or getting into a public war. A lot of people would have. After we hung up, I realized that somewhere in the past few weeks, my anger had transformed into something else. Not forgiveness, Isabella hadn't earned that, but a kind of detached acceptance. She was who she was, and I couldn't change that. All I could control was my own response. The following Friday, I was in a leadership meeting when my phone started buzzing repeatedly. I ignored it until lunch, then checked to find a dozen messages from various family friends and distant relatives. They all said some version of the same thing. "Is everything okay?" Saw Isabella's post. I pulled up her Instagram with a sense of dread. She'd posted a photo of eviction notices and moving boxes with a caption that made my blood pressure spike. When your own sister has money to throw parties but won't help family in crisis. When blood means nothing in the face of selfishness. We're losing our home while she celebrates her success. But God sees everything. Karma is real. To everyone who offered to help, thank you. We'll get through this without the people who turned their backs on us. Family betrayal. True colors, staying strong, sure single mom life. The comments were a mix of support for Isabella and people asking what really happened. A few of my own friends had jumped in to defend me, which only escalated things. Monica appeared in my office doorway. Please tell me you've seen it. Just now. She's claiming you refused to help her financially, and that's why she's losing the house. Monica was furious on my behalf. She's literally lying to thousands of people. She's desperate. I stared at the post, at Isabella's carefully curated image of victimhood. The house closes in 2 weeks. This is her last play to make me the villain. So what are you going to do? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I could post my own statement, share the receipts, expose every lie. I could win the court of public opinion. But then what? Would it change anything? Would Isabella suddenly take responsibility? Would it repair our relationship? No, it would just be two sisters destroying each other in public while everyone watched. Nothing, I said finally. I'm not doing anything. Monica looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Camilla, she's trashing your reputation. People think you're a terrible person. People who know me know the truth. People who don't know me are going to believe what they want regardless. I closed Instagram. I refuse to play this game anymore. Isabella wants a reaction. She wants me to engage so she can play victim even harder. I'm not giving her that. That's very mature of you. Or maybe I'm just tired. I smiled weakly. Either way, I'm done, but Isabella wasn't done with me. Sunday morning, she showed up at my apartment building. The doorman called up to ask if I wanted her let in. I almost said no, but curiosity won out. She looked terrible when she arrived at my door. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweater. This wasn't the polished, perfect Isabella I'd known my entire life. Can I come in? Her voice was small, defeated. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She stood in my living room, looking around like she was cataloging everything. This is a nice place. I've never been here before. You've never asked to come. I know. She sat down heavily on my couch. I saw Marcus yesterday. He told me you've been in contact with Ava. She came here once. We talked. That's it. He also told me you didn't want to get involved in the divorce, that you actually tried to stay neutral. Isabella's voice cracked. Even after everything I did to you. I sat in the chair across from her, maintaining distance. Why are you here, Isabella? Because I'm losing everything, and I don't know what to do. Tears started flowing, real ones this time, not performed for social media. The house is gone. Marcus is gone. Ava barely talks to me anymore. I have to get a job for the first time in 12 years, and I don't even know where to start. I'm 38 years old and my life is completely falling apart. I'm sorry you're going through this. But you had to know this was coming. I thought, she wiped her eyes roughly. I thought Marcus would just handle it somehow. That's what he always did. And when I realized he couldn't, I panicked. So you made me the villain. Isabella nodded miserably. I needed someone to blame besides myself. And you were there, being successful and independent, and it was just so easy to make you the reason everything went wrong. That post you made yesterday, about me refusing to help you financially. You never asked me for help, Isabella. Not once, because I knew what you'd say. You'd tell me to budget better, get a job, downsize. All the things Marcus kept saying. She looked at me with exhausted eyes. All the things I should have done years ago. This was the honesty I'd wanted at the restaurant weeks ago. But now, sitting here with my sister in ruins, I wasn't sure what to do with it. I can't fix this for you, I said quietly. Even if I wanted to, even if I could afford to pay off your debt, which I can't, it wouldn't solve the real problem. I know. Her voice was barely a whisper. The real problem is me. We sat in silence for a long moment. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to tell her everything would be okay. But that would be a lie, and we'd had enough lies between us. What do you want from me, Isabella? She looked up, and for the first time in years, I saw my sister. Not the perfect facade she'd built, but the actual person underneath. Scared, flawed human, I want to apologize. Really apologize, not just say the words. She took a shaky breath. I'm sorry for what I did at your birthday party. I'm sorry for encouraging Ava to hurt you. I'm sorry for the Instagram posts, for calling your job, for spending years making you feel small because it made me feel bigger. You didn't deserve any of it. No, I didn't. And I know I can't take it back. I know I destroyed our relationship, and I know you probably hate me. More tears fell. But I needed you to know that I see it now. What I did. Who I became. And I'm sorry. I waited to feel something. Relief. Satisfaction. Vindication. But mostly I just felt sad. Sad for the relationship we could have had if Isabella hadn't been so consumed by comparison. Sad for Ava, growing up in the wreckage. Sad for all the wasted years. I don't hate you, I said finally. But I also don't trust you. And I don't think we can have a relationship right now. Isabella nodded like she'd expected this. Will there ever be a time when we can? Maybe if you do the work. Real work, therapy, taking responsibility, being honest with yourself about why you made the choices you made. But that has to be for you, not for me. I started seeing a therapist last week, she said quietly. Court-ordered for the divorce, but I'm actually trying to engage with it. That's good. That's a start. She stood up, wiping her face with her sleeve. I should go. I just wanted to say all that in person. Not through text, not through mom, just sister to sister. I walked her to the door. As she stepped into the hallway, she turned back. For what it's worth, I really am proud of you. For building a life you love. For being strong enough to set boundaries. I just wish I'd told you that years ago instead of being jealous. After she left, I stood at my window watching the Seattle skyline fade into dusk. My phone buzzed, Monica checking if I'd survived Isabella's visit. I'm okay, I texted back. It's finally over. But even as I typed those words, I knew they weren't quite true. The drama was over. The active warfare was done. But healing from years of toxicity? That would take time. Still, for the first time in weeks, I felt something that resembled peace. Isabella had apologized. She'd acknowledged her role in destroying our relationship. She hadn't asked for forgiveness or money or help, just understanding. It wasn't enough to rebuild what we'd lost. But maybe, eventually, it would be enough to build something new. Or maybe not. And I was okay with that too. I ordered Thai food, poured myself wine, and queued up the movie I'd been wanting to watch. My apartment felt warm, safe, mine. Outside, Seattle sparkled with possibility, and inside I was finally, genuinely happy. Spring came to Seattle the way it always does, slowly, reluctantly, with rain giving way to occasional sunshine that made everyone forget the gray months that came before. 6 months had passed since my 30th birthday party. 6 months since Ava threw that drink on me and set off a chain reaction that dismantled my sister's carefully constructed life. A lot had changed. I was settling into my VP role, leading a team of 12 and working on campaigns that actually excited me. The corner office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay, and some mornings I'd arrive early just to watch the ferries cut through the water while drinking my coffee. Monica and I had started a tradition of Thursday night dinners, where we'd debrief the week over sushi and wine. My dating life was still a work in progress. A few promising connections that fizzled. One relationship that lasted 2 months before we mutually agreed we wanted different things. But I wasn't stressed about it anymore. Being single didn't feel like a failure. It just felt like being single. Therapy had helped with that. Dr. Chen specialized in family dynamics and had helped me unpack years of conditioning I hadn't realized was affecting me. Like how I'd always downplayed my achievements around Isabella to avoid making her feel bad. Or how I'd internalized the idea that success without a traditional family somehow meant less. You've spent most of your life trying to manage other people's emotions about your accomplishments. Dr. Chen had told me during one session, what would happen if you just let yourself be proud? I was learning what that felt like. As for Isabella, I'd kept my distance. But I heard updates through Mom and occasionally, Marcus. She'd gotten a job as a communications coordinator at a nonprofit downtown, entry level. Work that paid a fraction of what she'd spent monthly during her marriage. She and Ava had moved into that 2-bedroom apartment in Renton. From what Marcus told me, the transition had been brutal. Isabella had gone from a 5-bedroom house with a 3-car garage to a modest apartment where she could hear her neighbors through the walls, but she was paying her bills. Slowly chipping away at the debt, showing up to therapy every week. She's different, Marcus had told me last month when we met for coffee. I don't know if it's permanent or if she'll slip back into old patterns, but right now, she's actually doing the work. Ava was doing better too. She split time between her parents' places and had started seeing a therapist of her own. Marcus said she'd been asking questions about money, budgeting, even career planning. The girl who'd thrown a drink on me to please her mother was slowly becoming someone who questioned what she'd been taught. I hadn't seen either of them since Isabella's apology visit. We'd texted a few times, brief, surface-level exchanges on birthdays and holidays. Nothing deep, nothing requiring emotional labor I wasn't ready to give. Then April arrived with an unexpected email. The subject line read, "From Ava." I almost deleted it. But curiosity won out. "Dear Aunt Camila, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and I understand if you delete this. But I've been working with my therapist on something called making amends, and she said I should write to you. I'm really, truly sorry for what I did at your birthday party. Not just sorry I got caught or sorry things got messy after, but sorry for hurting you. You didn't deserve that. You've never been anything but nice to me, and I repaid that by being cruel because I thought it would make my mom happy. I'm learning now that making my mom happy isn't my job." That sounds obvious when I write it out, but for a long time, I thought if I could just be perfect enough or mean enough to the right people, she'd stop being sad all the time. Therapy is helping me understand that her sadness was never about me, and that what happened with the divorce wasn't your fault. I know Mom tried to blame you, and I believed her for a while because it was easier than accepting that my parents' problems were their own. I'm also learning about finances now. Dad's been teaching me. Did you know that we were over $400,000 in debt? I had no idea. I thought we were rich. Finding out we weren't, that we'd been lying about it for years, kind of broke something in me. But maybe it needed to break so I could see things clearly. Anyway, I'm not asking you to forgive me or be my aunt again or anything. I just wanted you to know that I see what I did, and I'm sorry, and I'm trying to be better. I hope you're doing well. Dad says you got a big promotion. Congratulations, Ava. I read that email 3 times, tears building with each pass. This wasn't the bratty 12-year-old who'd sneered at my dress, or the manipulated child who'd shown up at my apartment in tears. This was someone taking real accountability, someone doing actual work to understand her actions. I showed it to Dr. Chen at my next session. "How does reading this make you feel?" she asked, proud of her. "Sad for everything that happened. And kind of hopeful? Is that weird?" "Not weird at all." "Hopeful for what?" "That maybe eventually we can have a real relationship. Not the fake aunt-niece thing where we see each other at holidays and pretend everything's fine. Something honest. Do you want to respond?" I thought about it for the rest of the week. Finally, I wrote back. "Dear Ava, thank you for your email. It takes a lot of courage to apologize the way you did, and I can see that you're doing real work in therapy. I'm proud of you for that. You're right that your parents' problems weren't your fault, and you're also right that making your mom happy isn't your job. I'm glad you're learning that now instead of when you're 30. I'm not ready for us to have a close relationship yet. What happened at my birthday party really hurt, and I need more time to heal from that. But I want you to know that I don't hate you, and I'm genuinely happy to hear you're doing better. Keep working with your therapist. Keep learning about finances. And be patient with yourself. You're 13 now. Happy belated birthday, by the way. And you're already doing emotional work that most adults never do. Maybe in a few months, we could get coffee or lunch. Something low pressure where we can talk honestly about everything that happened. Only if you want to, and only when you feel ready. Take care of yourself, Aunt Camilla." I hit send before I could overthink it. 2 weeks later, Mom called with news. Isabella got a promotion at work. They're making her senior communications coordinator. It comes with a 20% raise. "That's great," I said and meant it. She's also started paying me back. Small amounts, $50 here, $100 there. For all the times I loaned her money over the years that she said she'd pay back but never did. Mom's voice was thick with emotion. I told her she didn't have to, but she insisted. "How is she really doing, Mom?" "Not the Instagram version, the real version." Mom was quiet for a moment. "She's learning how to live within her means. Learning how to be honest with herself. It's hard for her. She keeps having these moments where she wants to slip back into old habits, buy things she can't afford, present an image that isn't real. But she's catching herself more often than not. And Ava? Thriving. Her grades are up, she's joined the debate team, and she's become quite the little financial expert. Last time I took her shopping, she actually talked me out of buying something on sale because I didn't need it. Mom laughed. She's becoming quite sensible. Unlike her mother used to be. Unlike both her parents used to be, Mom corrected gently. Marcus has his own things he's working through. But yes, Ava's breaking the cycle, and that's beautiful to see. Memorial Day weekend, I was at a friend's barbecue when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The message contained a single photo: Isabella and Ava standing in front of what looked like a community college, both smiling, Ava holding a pamphlet. The text below read, "Touring schools with Ava. She wants to study economics. Thank you for showing her what's possible. Isabella." I stared at that photo for a long time. Isabella looked different. Older, yes, but also more relaxed. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore jeans and a plain t-shirt, and her smile actually reached her eyes. Ava stood close to her mother, but not clinging, confident in her own space. They looked like people rebuilding their lives instead of people drowning in the wreckage. I saved the photo and texted back, "That's wonderful. She's going to do great things," Isabella replied immediately. Like her aunt. 3 simple words that would have meant nothing 6 months ago but meant everything now. I didn't respond. Just put my phone away and rejoined the party. The Seattle sun was actually shining for once, and someone was telling a story that had everyone laughing. And I was exactly where I wanted to be. Later that evening, as I drove home through the city I loved, I thought about the past 6 months. About everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained. I'd lost my relationship with my sister, or at least the version of our relationship I'd been clinging to for years. But I'd gained something more valuable, myself. My boundaries, my peace, my unwillingness to shrink to make others comfortable. My 30th birthday had been a disaster. But maybe disasters are just transformations wearing uncomfortable clothes. Isabella had tried to humiliate me, and in doing so, she'd accidentally freed us both. Me from her toxicity, and her from the unsustainable fantasy she'd been living. Would our relationship ever be what it was when we were kids? Sharing a room in Tacoma and dreaming about our futures? Probably not. Too much had broken, too many words had been said. But maybe it could become something different. Something honest. Something built on reality instead of performance. Or maybe it wouldn't. And I was okay with that too. I pulled into my apartment building's garage and sat in my car for a moment. Engine off, just breathing. My phone lit up with a text from Monica. "How was the barbecue? Did you meet anyone cute?" I smiled and typed back, "Actually, I met someone very cute. Me, I'm pretty great. You're ridiculous, and you love me for it." Unfortunately true. I headed upstairs to my apartment, kicked off my shoes, and stood at the window watching the city lights flicker on as dusk settled over Seattle. Tomorrow I had brunch with friends, then a Sunday afternoon completely open. Maybe I'd go for a run. Maybe I'd binge watch that series everyone was talking about. Maybe I'd do absolutely nothing. The choice was mine. My life was mine. My happiness was mine. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I didn't need anyone else's approval to feel complete. My phone buzzed one last time. Ava had responded to my earlier email. "Coffee sounds good. Maybe in June? And thank you for giving me a second chance." "I won't waste it," I smiled and typed back, "June works. Talk soon." Outside, the Seattle sky was painted in shades of pink and orange, the kind of sunset that made you believe in new beginnings. And inside my apartment, with my successful career and my messy love life and my complicated family and my hard-won peace, I finally understood what Mom had tried to tell me years ago. You can't control other people's choices. You can only control your own response. Isabella had made her choices. I'd made mine. And somehow, despite everything, we were both going to be okay. Just not together. At least not yet, and that was enough. Looking for more? We've got 2 amazing stories ready for you right on screen. If this one touched you, these are absolutely worth your time. Click to watch them now. And hey, Subscribe and hit that bell to never miss our latest uploads.